we're in the midst of what I would call a free agent economy. And what I mean by that is, used to be, my parents' generation, grandparents' generation, you work for a company, stay there 20, 30, 40 years, get a pension, get that gold watch, get a hearty handshake, a little party, and you're done. And then you retire, collect some Social Security, get your pension, and then you didn't live as long as you do now. And then you kind of drop dead when you're, 70, 65, and it's all over. Now it's different. We live much longer, which is a good part, but we don't have that same security. It was a trade-off. It used to be if you went to a company and you gave them your life, basically, you said, I'm going to commit for 10, 20, 30, 40 years, they would keep you. You wouldn't find these massive layoffs, downsizings, job cuts. Could happen from time to time if a company just was in really bad state. But think about now, how often do you see X company just laid off 10,000, Y company 50,000, this company 5,000, all constantly. And this was even going on before COVID, not to the same degree, but the layoffs were there because there's no loyalty anymore. If a company could get artificial intelligence, robotics, new software, new technology that could replace you, you're replaced. They're not going to think twice about it. They're going to say, hey, if we put in this new system, we don't need 30 people. Goodbye. Take care. It was nice knowing you. Good luck. And by the way, all the other companies are doing the same thing, so you're not going to find another job doing this. If a company could save money by moving a job to a low-cost city in the United States or shipping the job abroad, you know what they're going to do. They're going to do it. And they've been doing it. And this is going on before COVID. If they could take a job and there's somebody who's 55 years old, we talked about this in another episode, someone's 55 years old and making $250,000, and they could denigrate the job down to 50, 60,000 and maybe put it in another country, another city, another state, they're going to do it. So there's no loyalty. There's no pensions anymore. Yes, you can have a 401k and maybe they'll match, but you don't have pensions. So you don't have the job security, you don't have the pensions, you don't have the loyalty, because if companies were loyal, they wouldn't put in new technology to kick you out. They wouldn't relocate the jobs. They don't care. And you know what? I'm not going to say they're bad people. This is not a rant against the evil corporations. Capitalism is terrible. No, capitalism is pretty good for most people, not for everybody, but it seems to work. Works a little better than others, but there's a lot of problems with it. And one of the problems is if you could work hard, you could be smart, you could be great, you could be fantastic at what you do, but still lose your job and have a hard time finding another job. So what I suggest to you is this. First of all, you have to accept it. You can't blindly whistle through the dark and hope everything's going to turn out okay. You have to say to yourself, hey, maybe things are going well now, but who knows what's going to happen a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now. I need to be prepared. What always happens for people, we get complacent. When things are going well, we're on cruise control and driving down the highway. Everything is cool, no worries, the music is on, and it's just going to be like that. Awesome, the sun is shining. But you can't, you got to take control. Take it off cruise control, first of all. Take it off cruise control, and don't get a self-driving car either. Take control over it. And watch around, look around. You can enjoy yourself, but you got to be careful because there's a lot of nutty drivers out there. Same thing with your career. You can't just go on cruise control. Everything's great. Well, I'm really good. I'm the best at what I do. And if something happens to me, I'll easily get another job. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe you're right. But what if you're wrong? That's what my point is. You gotta think, what if? And the what ifs means a plan B, a pivot, or reinvent yourself. Now, you can be like, ugh, stop with these, buzzwords. So we'll put it out. you don't want to just think, hey, because things are going well now, or relatively well now, everything is all right. You want to make sure that, God forbid anything happens, you have fallback plans. Because you don't want to wait for something to go wrong and then you start acting. Because what happens if you wait for something to go wrong and then you act, you can't act well. What I mean by you can't act well, if you're not preparing for a job loss and then you get a call from HR, hey, Jack, we'd like to speak to you. Can you come up to the 22nd floor? Thank you. And you're like, oh no. You go up to the 22nd floor, it takes forever. You go in there, there's an HR person, there's your boss's boss, another boss, someone who looks like a lawyer, and then they like, hey, I'm really sorry to tell you, but your services are no longer needed. But hey, we really like you. Good luck out there. And by the way, you have to sign this and sign your life away, and you're really not going to get any severance money or anything. But yeah, and oh, don't go back to your office because Rocco just shut off everything and boxed up your stuff, and yeah, and just go down out of the building and they'll bring it out. They'll FedEx your stuff to you. Thank you. It's nice. It's nice for you working here. Hey, take care. Then when that happens, you have to scramble. And like, what do I do? Mentally, you thought everything was great. You didn't have any backup plans. Maybe you weren't even saving money because you thought, hey, why should I save money? I'm going to keep making more. What ends up happening is you're scared. You're frightened. You're going into the unknown. And when that happens, you can't think right. Think about when you're afraid and you're scared and you know when your body is like, you feel that nervous energy, it's hard to make a rational decision. So now at the time you need most to be thoughtful, calm, rational, you can't. You just got a bomb dropped on you and you're just like, whoa, what do I do? So don't wait for that to happen. There'll come a point where you have to say to yourself, what if? And start planning. What if this job doesn't work out? Then you start keeping your eye out for other jobs. You update your resume, your LinkedIn profile, build up your network, get on LinkedIn, market yourself. If you could ever go on real live, meetups with real life people and talk to them face to face, that'd be great. Until then, join different Zoom type calls where you could interact with folks. And depending on how much you want to look, you could do it stealthily or you could do it out in the open. But you start doing all those things. This is before anything goes wrong. And when I say these things, certain things you may not want to do because you don't want to blow up your spot. So you want to be judicious in how you get out there. You want to kind of do it under the radar. So let's say you start today doing all these things. In 6 months, a year, you're going to build up a really good network. And the network will be good because you don't really need their help right now, but you could offer help. So in this network, when you're making connections in the real world and online, offer to help people. How can I help you? This is a tough time for everybody. Are you looking for a job? Do you want me to point you in the right direction? Do you need some mentoring? Do you need some advice? Most times people say thanks, no thanks, but they'll remember you asked them that. And that's a key to build up, because if you get let go, then you have to scramble if you haven't prepared and start, hey, who should I call? Who should I talk to? Whatever. And you're going to start reaching out to people who you haven't reached out to a long time. And a good chunk of them might be like, oh, now he wants me? Now Jack's interested in talking to me? I haven't spoken to him in 2 years. Now he's calling me? Now some people be cool and be like, oh, hey, you know what? Person in need, I'll help. But if you could get everybody to feel, hey, I'll help, because you offered to help them, that's great. So you're building up your network, so then when you need it, you have it. Start thinking of, and then you're looking at other roles that you want to keep moving the forward momentum with your current job. You're looking at companies, you're kind of finding people work at the other companies, manager level, senior level manager, HR people, And so you're kind of ingratiating yourself with them, you're networking, and since you're not asking for anything, it's all good. You're just giving and giving and giving, but you're building and building and building. You're working on, maybe you need some accreditations, some licenses. Maybe you have to go back to school for some stuff. Start doing it. Start doing it. So once again, you're prepared. But then a bigger thing is this. You have to think, what if the jobs in my space dry up? Imagine working in the airline industry now, or in hospitality, restaurants. It's rough because the whole sector has been hit, not just one company. So now there's not a lot of jobs in that sector. So what you want to do is say, what if that happens? Now, you could say, Jack, come on, that was COVID, it was a once in a generation thing. Maybe, but we did have the financial crisis 10 years before. We had 9/11 before that. We had the dot-com boom and bust. We tend to have a lot of disruptions. So it makes sense not to just, don't worry. Think, if you can't get another job in your industry, what skills do you have that could transfer over somewhere else? So you want to see if you could kind of pivot somewhere, where maybe the type of skills I have, even though I'm in the hospitality industry, they could cross over to fill in the blank industry, because the marketing skills, the advertising skills, or the accounting skills, the engineering skills, they'll cross over. And then start looking at other industries that you'd be interested in. Maybe you always had an interest in going into the music industry, fashion industry, news industry, what have you. Start looking, see, does it cross over? But now the difference is this, you're not doing this under pressure. You're doing this under, hey, I could explore. I could see what's out there. You can make acquaintances, learn about it, and then you might find out, that industry doesn't really pay that well, and I thought it was more glamorous than it is. It's really not. So, okay, you learn. But you're better off learning now than when you need the job and you're stressed. You may also want to do a reinvention, where you may have to say, I got to start all over again. Or you may even say to yourself, you know what? If I lose this job and I can't get another one, I'm not even crazy about what I've been doing. I've been doing this for 25 years. Do I want to do this for another 25 years? I don't think I could stand it another 25 years. So you may want to say, hey, if something happens, what do I really want to do? What do I want to do when I grow up? When I'm 50, 60? So start planning. Maybe, I don't know, maybe you want to be a teacher. So start taking classes. And I'm making it sound easy, but we all know these are not easy things to do. But you have to do it, because the risk-reward ratio, and I've mentioned this several times now, you got to factor the risk versus reward. The reward is if you take the appropriate steps. Let's say you wanted to be a teacher, a social worker. You want to give back. You've done well in your career. You've made some money. You put money aside. Your kids' college tuition is already funded. So you don't have to worry as much as compensation. You could do something you want to do. So you reinvent yourself. Hey, I'm going to be a social worker. I'm going to be a teacher. You take the classes, do all that. And you do it at night while you're working. So you have it. Now, maybe you end up never doing it. So the risk is that you do all this work and you never need it. But that risk is not so bad because you still have your job. So that's good. But if you didn't have your job, the risk would be, yikes, I don't have anything. I have no fallback. There's nothing else I can do. The reward is, if you do put all this time and energy and your job falls apart, you can't get another job, the reward is, yes, I have a life raft to jump into. The life raft is all those people you networked and this big crowdsourced networking group that you have that's going to help support you through this. Your resume's all done. LinkedIn looks good. You've already found the kind of companies you want to work for, the industry. So the word is you've done all this homework. So then if things go sideways, you don't have as much stress and anxiety. You also want to consider maybe doing some side hustles now in the area you might be interested in, if possible. If possible. Or you may try things, let's say you're creative, and in your work you don't have a chance to use that. Maybe you do a side gig in terms of painting, writing, filmmaking, whatever it may be. Maybe you can make a few bucks at it. And maybe if you start now, you get better at it. So if and when you lose your job, when you're looking for another job, you kind of have something else going on. Or you always have another little side hustle where you're making some money, but you're also doing something that gives you a lot of joy. So the money might not be great, but it's nice to have a little flow. And then also, you're able to feel good about yourself. Like, hey, in my line of work as an accountant is very dry, very numbers oriented. My line of work as a data analyst is very numbers, but I do have this creative side. So I like painting and I'm putting on Etsy and people are buying it. It's fantastic. I'm not going to be a millionaire from it, but I am making some money. I really love it. And I'm using a whole nother part of my personality in my brain. So what I would humbly suggest to you, things may be going well now. And you might think, Jack, why are you bothering me with this? Everything is fine. Because being a recruiter, 25 years-ish, so many people are fine until they're not fine. And then they scramble. And that's the worst thing to do. And the toughest thing, as I've mentioned before, then your emotions are a wreck. Mentally, you're all over the place. You're angry, you're bitter, you're resentful. So when you're interviewing, you're not coming across well. But if you're planning for it way in advance, is it still going to hurt? Yeah. But is it going to hurt as much? No, because you're going to be prepared. Because you were thinking about pivoting to something else and making inroads for that. You're building up your network so that if you lose your job, you could just get started right away. You may reinvent yourself and say, you know what? Kind of glad. I can't tell you how many job seekers I've spoken over the years where sometimes they say, I look back and I'm really glad that I was let go, because if not, I would spend the next 20 years doing the same thing. And now I had the chance to do something different that I love, and it never would have happened. It was the best thing that happened to me. So you could reinvent yourself and do something new. And then also, you try to have maybe some side hustle gigs that bring in a little extra revenue, but then also is an outlet. And then if you do lose your job or something, you have something else going on in the interim to keep you motivated, to keep you focused, to moor you to reality, so you're not feeling like, what do I do with myself and my time? These are tough things to go over because we don't want to do that. Just like we don't want to explore our own mortality. We don't like talking about certain topics because we know it could happen to us, and it's frightening, so we just put it aside. What I'm saying is that sometimes you have to confront what could be the reality. Now, hopefully it's not. Same way you buy life insurance. You buy life insurance because you know one day you're not going to be here and you want to take care of your family. You buy health insurance because if you're sick, you want to be covered. Same thing. This is almost like career insurance. You can't buy career insurance, which actually that might be an interesting business, right? But so now I don't think you can buy career insurance, but the insurance you get is thinking about reinventing yourself, about pivoting, a plan B, doing some other things so that you have kind of insurance coverage if things don't work out the way you thought it was going to work out. So no, kind of a serious matter, but I think I'm arming you with some information. And hopefully you never need this. You can have a great career, nothing's going to happen, you're going to keep moving forward, you're going to end up being the CEO of the company, retiring a gazillionaire. Hopefully that happens. But if not, start working on having that plan B just in case. Thanks.